What would you pay for an extra 20 or 30, not just healthy years, but vibrant years? I want to give hope to people who are aging that there's a whole new set of incredible breakthroughs coming our way. Prepare yourself for an amazing world ahead.
Ever feel like your best days are behind you? Do you ever wonder if you can get back that energy and that passion that you once had? Well, get ready, because today we're going to talk about how anyone can radically improve their longevity by making just a few simple changes that you can start today. Named by Fortune as one of the world's 50 greatest leaders, Peter Diamandis is the founder of the XPRIZE Foundation, which leads the world in operating large-scale incentive competitions that redefine what's possible. As an entrepreneur, he started over 20 companies in the areas of longevity, space, venture capital, and education. He's the co-founder of Bold Capital Partners, a venture fund with over $500 million investing in exponential technologies. He's written 4 national best-selling books and is on a mission to transform our understanding of health and longevity. Buckle up, y'all, because Peter is about to share some simple shifts that'll revolutionize the way we age. I loved something that I watched on one of the videos on your website. And like, you and I have known each other for a long time, but I'm like, I just need to get back into my friend Peter's world. And it was this notion of we have to stop complaining about problems and shift the conversation to starting to solve these problems.
Yeah.
And it was really, really important for me to hear personally, and I'm going to share more about that in a few minutes. But I want to start off with you telling us, what is this challenge that we have around health span and longevity, and why are you so passionate about this, especially right now?
So let's start with defining what health span is versus lifespan, right? So lifespan is how long your heart is going, how long your brain waves are active. And health span is how long do you feel great? How long do you actually enjoy life? You know, being able to go out with your kids or grandkids, fulfill your purpose in life, really be an active, member. And for us, most people realize that lifespan today can be late 70s into 80s, but especially in the United States, health span really begins to dissipate before then.
Yes.
And it can be a low, slow, long 20-year period of time where you become cognitively disabled, physically disabled, and no one wants to live long in that situation. But for me, the realization is that it's this decade that we are gaining the tools to understand how to actually extend that health span, why we age, how to slow it, even stop it, maybe even reverse it. And so it's an exciting time to be alive. And that's coming really from, my world of converging exponential technologies where AI and gene therapies and stem cells and all of these things are coming together. And, I think everyone knows this and feels this. There is no greater wealth than your health. Right. I remember Joe Polish, a mutual friend of ours, when I was down for the count many years ago, he told me the quote that has always stuck with me, that, a man or woman who has her health has 1,000 dreams, and the man or woman who does not has but one.
Yeah.
So and it's so true.
It is so true. And I want to talk about that. So the reason why that quote struck me so much about the complaining versus the problem solving. So like, I wrote that book, Everything is Figure Outable, yes, right? And so that's been my life mantra. And I'll probably cry when I say this, but it's because it's real. And that was something that's taught to me by my mom. Yeah. And like right now, she's in the most devastating crisis where she doesn't want to be here anymore. She's 75, and I have found myself complaining about the healthcare system.
Yes.
How challenging it is to navigate, finding solutions, and I'm very solutions oriented. And, I love her more than anything. Of
course.
And this notion, though, that like we need to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's what and we'll get there a little bit later in the conversation, but that's why I was so excited that you are coming today and that we've known each other for so long, because this is such important work. I had a company meeting right before you got here. And I was talking to them about another interview that we did with a scientist, a biochemist. And I was sharing like, hey guys, you guys all have to watch this, especially as we're into the holiday season. You're going to be with your family. They're going to be making eating choices. Please watch this episode because it's going to support them. Just like how I want everyone to watch this episode and share it with their families, because I'm in the midst of something that I've never experienced before. I had no idea how hard this was. It's been going on for like 6 months. And so the reason I'm saying all that is everything that we're talking about today, if the folks in my audience haven't hit it yet, it's coming for so many of us. You know, I'm 47 right now and my parents are 75. And it's like they went from being kind of amazing, everything was great, to everything is in the toilet all at once. And it's overwhelming. So this notion that we have some semblance of control over both our lifespan and most importantly, our health span, it's just critical. So another one of your quotes that I loved was everything is science fiction until it's science fact.
Yes.
And how I love this. I didn't realize that there are whales that live to 200.
Yeah, the bowhead whale can live 200 years old. And then the Greenland shark can live 500 years old and have babies at 200 years old.
Yes.
Imagine having babies throughout your first couple hundred years of life.
Oof. I didn't even want to have babies in my first 47. Like, I'm not for that. But the point is, this is why it was interesting to me, your conversation with David Sinclair, which I've read his books as well. And this notion that our lifespan, from his point of view, it's largely a software problem.
It is.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I remember when I first saw that stat, I was watching a television show on Long Live Sea Life, and I learned about, sea turtles and Greenland sharks and bowhead whales. And I was like, why can they live that long and why can't we?
Yeah.
And I was in a joint MD engineering program. And I remember thinking it's either a software problem or a hardware problem. And we're going to be able to fix those. And I honestly believe this is the decade that we are getting our hands on the tech to do that. And so, the spoiler, the punchline here is your job, if you're listening to this, is to stay healthy enough, vibrant enough to intercept all of the breakthroughs that are coming like tomorrow, like the day after tomorrow, this decade. It is AI technologies. It is quantum technologies. It is, stem cells and gene therapies and epigenetic reprogramming. All of these areas are coming together. And there's no bigger business opportunity on the planet than health, right? What would you pay for an extra 20 or 30, not just healthy years, but vibrant years, right? I mean, going back to your mom, and I've seen this, of course, people, first of all, retire if they're forced out by policy of their company or retirement age, but they retire if they're in pain or if they're out of energy, right? But what if you had all the vibrancy at 75 that you had at 40?
Yes.
Right? And you're at the top of your game. You've got wisdom. You've got the experiences of life. You've got expanded family. You've got places now you can afford to go. That would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
And so that's the goal.
Yeah.
That is the goal. How do we enable that? I think I have no question it is doable. Right? And so I think about, my mom, God bless, she's 87 going on 88. And I have two boys that are 12 years old. I want them to know her. And so I want that vibrancy. I want that health span extension, not just lifespan.
Yeah.
So we are software and hardware as humans. And here's the realization. Our bodies were never designed to live past age 30. If you go back 100,000 years ago as Homo sapiens on the savannas of Africa, you'd be pregnant at age 12 or 13, right, when you went to puberty. You'd be a grandparent by 27 or 28. And before culture, written language, all of these things, what we wanted to do is really perpetuate our species by passing our genome along. And before there was McDonald's and Whole Foods, and food was scarce. We had no idea where our next meal is coming from. Our brains are wired for fear and scarcity. You didn't want to, if you stole the food as the bigger adult from the newborn child, you were not going to perpetuate your species. And so you would die and give back your bits to the environment. And because we would not typically procreate, past age 30, if you would, there was no selective factors in the environment for people living longer. And so we're all downhill after 30. Our stem cell populations decrease, our muscles get weaker, our immune system gets weaker and such. And so that's just the way it's programmed right now, but it doesn't mean it's the way it needs to remain that way. So there's a lot that's happened over the last 100 years. We took the average life expectancy of women living always a little bit longer than men, but we've doubled it in the last 100 years. And that's come from, antibiotics and sanitation and pasteurization. But we are now have a window and into really understanding how do we take the next leap forward. And it's coming. There's zero question about it.
So it's not if, it's when.
It's when. Yeah.
One of the things that I've been having, I was talking to you about my family. So basically what happened, both my parents got COVID earlier this year and my mom got her ass kicked by it, like really got her ass kicked.
Yes.
And they didn't catch it very soon. It's been this ongoing mess and she is pretty decimated right now.
Yeah.
And my dad, who's amazing physically, walks like over 10 miles a day and he goes to his workout class a few times a week. He manages type 2 diabetes and we've made huge strides with him, but his short-term memory is now, especially with the trauma of what's been happening with my mom, is essentially gone. And so we've had these conversations. My dad's eldest brother just passed and I was just at a funeral a couple days ago. And so I'm talking to my cousins and I'm talking with my extended family and they were like, hey, did you know Nana passed from an aneurysm? Did you know X, Y, and Z? So I want to get into the conversation about how much of this is hereditary versus how much of this is lifestyle, because I feel like there's just an old school wisdom that, so much of your destiny is genetics and, and it's not so.
And let's just break that myth right now. The numbers are pretty shocking. And I've seen a lot reported, and I write about it in my new book called Longevity Practical Playbook, that the estimate is as little as only 7% of your lifespan, health span, is a function of genetics, which means 90% plus is a function of your lifestyle. And a lot of it is also a function of your mindset.
Yes.
Right? I mean, there's a quote in the back of this book. So I put out two things. One is a free PDF called my Peter's Longevity Practices, which is everything I've learned, everything I do in a very readable format.
Yeah. So this for everyone, that you can get this online.
You can get it. It's free online.
Yeah.
And then a book that expands this, but still very, very readable. So there's a study I ran into, and I was like blown away by its veracity and the numbers here. Yeah, so it says, and this is in the Journal of the National Academy of Sciences, which is like one of the most prestigious. It says, in a study of 69,744 women and 1,429 men, published in the prestigious journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, it was found that optimistic people live as much as 15% longer than pessimists. And so I inherently believe that.
Yes.
I inherently believe that. And this goes back to, in part, the will to live as well. Here's another quick story, because I think that people can will themselves to death.
Yes.
And I think people can will themselves to life as well. So here's a story coming out of the Annals of American History. And it says, as it turns out, in an extraordinary demonstration of the will to live, two of America's founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, both willed themselves to live long enough to see the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Even though in the early 1800s, the average life expectancy was only 44 years old, Jefferson, who was 83 at the time, and Adams, who was 90, made it to July 4th, 1826, both dying on that exact date, the 50th anniversary of when the nation was founded.
That's incredible.
It is.
I want to talk about that for a minute again, because it's the thing that's up for me. And, I'm a very intrinsically optimistic person. And this is the thing I've been battling with my mom and been talking out with my brother is at this moment in time, and I really hope this turns around. We're doing everything that we can, but it's that notion. I saw the spark in my mom, like it's gone out. She's like, I don't think I can do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And that is such a hard thing to witness. And also for me, as someone who is so, and I'm sure you've probably felt this in your own times in your own life, when it's someone that you love so much, but then you have to realize you
want to just shake them.
Yes. but you can't make anyone do anything. Yeah. And I think it comes back to that, so cliched, but it is so true, that you can only change yourself, and in this whole journey for me, it keeps reminding me, I'm like, okay, I can show up with love in terms of my family when I'm navigating. And I really need to take care of myself, because I'm the only person that I can, make a difference with. But that will to live, I want to get to this at the end, because I don't want you guys tuning out. This is really important, but we're going to get to a place where I want to talk about your MTPs. Yes. But we're going to get there.
Okay.
But we ain't going to tell you that secret until the end, because that's in terms of
probably the most important thing you could possibly learn
in this whole conversation.
What is your MTP?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So the other thing that I love, and it made me laugh so hard, was I love that it's like, this is your playbook on sleep and diet and exercise and blah, 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 and not dying from something stupid.
Yes.
And it's like, we've learned now at this point, and it's just like, let's just be real about it. It's like, so many things can take us out. I'm here in New York City, you fly all around the world. There's so many things that, random stuff, God willing, doesn't happen, but let's not die from the stupid things. Yes. And we essentially know, at least from my understanding, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, there's like kind of 4 major buckets of things that we need to watch out for, right? There's heart disease. What else do we have? Neurodegenerative.
Yes, neurodegenerative, yes. Yep.
Metabolic. Yeah. And what's our next one?
Well, cancer, I would put down in.
Yes, that's right.
So I'll add at the top of that, don't die for something stupid, like the basics, don't text and drive.
Yes.
Right? Guilty and always trying to catch myself.
Yep.
Like, it can't, there's nothing that important.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
I mean, wear a helmet if you're biking your bicycle or skiing.
I need to do the helmet thing in New York City, because I do ride my city bike around a lot. Yeah. Okay, yes.
And wearing a seatbelt.
Yep.
I mean, those are like just fundamental things. All of these laws were written. Why? Because people were being killed by these repeatable, preventable things. So that's one category of don't die for something stupid. The other category is that most people have no idea what's going on inside their bodies. And sometimes when I discuss this, people go, I don't want to know. And I go, well, it's bullshit. Of course you want to know, because you can do something about it.
Yes.
So Tony Robbins and I, backed by some amazing people, built a company called Fountain Life. And Fountain, there's a great CEO, Bill Kapp, a physician, started 9 hospitals, became enamored by exponential technologies and following my work. And we took him in as the CEO and a co-founder. And so we have a center in New York, one in Orlando, one in Naples, one in Dallas, and we got a waiting list of 40 of these centers. And these are large, advanced diagnostic facilities. So you go in for a day, and as a Fountain Life member, we basically digitize you. We do a full body MRI, brain vasculature, brain blood flow, a coronary CT looking for not calcified plaque, which is safe, but soft plaque, which can avulse and give you a heart attack in that microsecond. We do your full genomics, your metabolomics, your microbiome, your 120 biomarkers. It is everything knowable about you. Retinal scans, skin imaging, grip strength. I mean, it goes on. And we built a set of data protocols that we ingest you. It's 150 gigabytes of data to answer 2 questions. One, is there anything going on inside your body that you need to know about? And 2, what's likely to get you, and how do we slow it, stop it, prevent it? And so I like to say life is short until you extend it, right?
Yes.
And so, we've all heard about people who just passed away in the middle of the night.
Yes.
In their sleep.
I've had friends.
They fell, and what happened? It's typically a heart attack or an aneurysm that takes them down. And interestingly enough, so Fountain Life, we put about 5,000 members through. When you go through this one-day program, We give you a concierge longevity physician as part of that year-long membership who understands how to look at all that data, how to run the AI models on top of it all, and make it understandable. Because there's no way anybody can understand all of this data unless it's being using these technologies to correlate them. In our first 5,000 members who are seemingly healthy adults, typically in their 50s, here are the numbers. 2% have a cancer they didn't know about, right? So 2 out of 100 people have a cancer walking around, just don't know it. 2.5% had an aneurysm they didn't know about. 14.4% had either metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease, neurodegenerative disease, or again, one of those other areas. So I go every year religiously. I hold my breath until I go through it, and then I have a huge sense of relief. Mm-hmm. And we've saved hundreds of lives, I guarantee you. I had a friend of mine who we're doing business with at Fountain. This person is a super high-end real estate developer, and we're looking at doing some deals because we're embedding the Fountain Life centers in, high rises and in high-end real estate developments, where when you move there, the promise of the real estate developer is we're going to keep you alive, healthier, and longer, right? And it's a good promise. I mean, why not? Also, co-resident have that.
Yeah, it's also really smart too, because as all my research that I'm doing, it's like our aging population, especially here in the United States, we have a very much aging population. Yes. We need to take care of each other. Yeah,
it's going to double. Our people over 60 will double over the course of the next 25 years.
Yeah.
So, so this guy comes in. I say, go through the experience so you can see it, and he does. And we discovered 2, not 1, but 2 aneurysms in his brain. And we saved his life, guarantee you. And it's another person he's on. If you go to the fountainlife.com website, you'll see a short video. So this guy comes through, signs up. His wife signs him up as a birthday gift to go through Fountain Life. And his doctor says, don't go waste your time and money on that stuff. We discovered a stage 2 renal cancer that was just about to break out. And he in the video, he talks about, oh my God, you saved my life. And then he sent 3 of his friends through, and in 2 of them, we found cancer. I mean, it's like, you can't make this stuff up.
Right.
It's crazy. And so, listen, here's the reality. And I hate fear related, but I want to give the real facts. The human body is always developing cancers all the time. That is a normal state. Cells replicate about 50 times in the body, and then there are 3 things that happen to them. 50 replications is what's called the Hayflick limit. At the end of those 50 replications, most cells should die, have the decency to go away and be replaced by new vibrant cells, or they can become zombie cells, senescent cells, and we know about senescent cells as they put out inflammatory factors, they cause aging in all organs, or they become cancer. And what happens is your immune system, in particular your innate immune system, your natural killer cells, find and zap and kill the cancer on a regular basis because it's part of the process. And sometimes you have what's called immunoexhaustion, where your immune system is just exhausted from battling other viruses and other infections, and cancer sneaks on through. And so this is a second level of defense, right? To find that cancer. When do you want to find cancer?
Early.
As early as possible, right? It's the difference between finding it stage 1 and stage 4 is... Yes. Yeah, it's night and day.
It's significant.
Yeah.
What I loved so much about this booklet, because, we had Tony on when Life Force came out, and I love this stuff. I've always been passionate about, and I love you and your work. What I appreciated was like how freaking simple. You're like, hey, y'all, here's what I do, right? I'm just gonna keep it really simple. This is not thick. This is not complicated. I'm telling you what I do, not saying it's going to work for you, but let me just reveal what I've been up to. So let's start with food and eating, because I feel like, and let's just be honest. So I'm so grateful. Like, we have an audience in 195 countries. And not everyone will have the potential at this moment to be able to come to one of the clinics, or they might not have the economics.
There are things you can do right now which don't cost you anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going with this.
Yes,
and, we
beautiful.
live in a world where it's like there are incredible potentials for things. And yeah, they do cost a lot of money, but we know our health is worth it. And then there are things that don't cost anything besides making new choices. So let's dive into food and talking about what to eat and what not to eat.
Yeah, really important. And, when I wrote the book Life Force with Tony, it's 700 pages. And when I set out, so Peter's longevity practices as a PDF, it's a beautiful PDF, and it's for free.
Yeah.
Longevity Practical Playbook is a fleshed out book. You can go to Amazon. It's a beautiful color book as well. But I wanted to get this information out because people have a hard time reading 700-page books.
Totally.
And there's so many diet books. And so, there are hundreds of books. Like, where do you start and how do you consume this all? There are certain basic things, like fundamental. So there's no one diet for everybody, to be clear, right? I've been a vegan. I have been in a paleo diet. I am probably mostly a Mediterranean diet now, but there's certain absolutes. Number one, and I hate to say it, especially around, holiday time, sugar is a poison.
Yes.
The body was never designed to consume as much sugar as we do. So when we were evolving again, and you could just look back over history, we didn't have sugarcane 10,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. So as we consume so much sugar and empty calories, the sugar attaches itself to the proteins in our body, like hemoglobin, and we end up having our immune system look at this protein glucose glycosylate molecule as a foreign body, and it causes an inflammatory reaction. So sugar causes inflammatory impact in the brain, in the heart, other parts of the body. So one of the very first things, if someone has cancer, you tell them is stop all glucose intake, all sugar intake, right? And sugar isn't just your sugar-coated cereals. It's white bread, it's white rice, it's things like that.
I'm curious to interrupt you for just a second. Did you used to like sugar, like before you learned all of this?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, were you just like, give me the, yes.
It's like, oh my God, Reese's Pieces or just candies and so forth, 100%. And now, listen, it's not that I consume zero sugar, but I'm very intentional on what I'm going to eat, and I'm not stuffing my face with empty calories.
Yes.
So just being knowledgeable about the body was never evolved. It's a inflammatory, neuroinflammatory, cardiac inflammatory, and just understanding that is an important first step. The second thing is that's a universal. Other universal is whole plants. Really consuming as much fiber and whole plants as you can. Right? It's what your parents told you to do. And then we can talk about protein next. But there's a few interesting tricks worth noting that can change your diet in a microsecond. If you've got a plate in front of you with your veggies and your protein and your carbs, eat your veggies first.
Yes.
Eat all your veggies first. That fiber going into your digestive system will slow your digestion down. It will cause the nutrients to be absorbed first. Your protein comes next, and then if you filled yourself on the protein and the fiber, that's great. If you have room, go ahead and eat your carbs next, because they won't spike your blood sugar anywhere near as much. The second thing is when you're eating, it's taking a deep breath. It's what Dr. Helen Messier, who's my chief medical officer at Fountain Life, says is vitamin O. Is like, we have two states in our bodies. We have a sympathetic, which is our fight or flight, and we have our parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest. And you want to be in that deep breath in, deep breath out, and eat in that state. If you're eating while watching CNN, the Crisis News Network, it is the worst time to be eating. You're not pulling out the nutrients. You're spiking your blood sugar. It is just an absolute wrong way to eat, which is why I guess a lot of cultures have at the beginning of a meal saying grace or saying gratitude, really to put you in a state in which you're best able to take in the nutrients from the food and where you enjoy the nutrients. Another thing I do is when I'm out at a restaurant, the worst thing they do is they serve you a basket of bread and a glass of wine in the beginning.
Yep.
And I'll say, can you please bring that back with the food? Because I don't want to fill myself and spike my blood sugar instantly while sitting down. And then at an event, and you and I are both out at events all the time, and they bring your dessert, I will say, I will not let them put it on the table. Before it hits the table, I'll say, no, thank you. Because if it hits the table and it's sitting there, I'm likely to lose my will and start.
Absolutely.
But if it's not in front of me, I mean, the other thing is I will not buy sugar to put in the freezer, right? Ice cream or whatever the case might be.
No, it's really smart. You avoid the temptation. You don't resist it.
Yes, exactly.
Resistance takes down our cognitive fuel.
And there's interesting theories around this because you have a certain amount of willpower through the day.
That's right.
Right?
Yes. And at night at an event, you've battled so many decisions and so many things.
Exhausted.
You're exhausted. And so the chocolate cake comes, you're like, I need it. But right. So I wanted to tell you something because I loved it when I was reading this. You're like, you have kind of like hard nose that just makes it simpler for you, and it's not about being punitive to yourself, but for me, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like there's this wonderful research that I talk about. I have a program that's called Time Genius, and that just helps people have a more joyful and free relationship with time, because I used to have a very dysfunctional relationship, punishing relationship with time. Anyway, there was this wonderful study that I came across that's relative here, and it's from Dr. Vanessa Patrick, who found when you frame a refusal saying, I don't, so it's a very clear expression of your standards of who you're being, you're up to 8 times more effective in staying with a new behavior. So rather than saying no or I can't. So I can't puts you in a position of
weakness,
feeling a victim, as though there's some external authority that's controlling your decisions. And even no isn't as powerful as saying, I don't. For instance, I don't eat sugar, or I don't eat sugar at night, or I don't eat sugar unless I've had my fiber and my protein, and then I'll have just a little bit. Yeah. But I wanted to tell you that because
I love that.
There's a couple things.
It's a declaration of who you are, your principles.
Correct. And the more that you repeat it and you fire and wire that in your brain, it becomes natural. Yeah. I used it for, I don't do overwhelm because I was swimming in it forever, but I was like, oh, people can use this. I loved reading, and let's talk about protein for a second, and this is, we're not getting into morality here, folks. We're getting into the fact, like Peter said, there are many, many different avenues for people to eat, and everyone's body is so different. But I know for you, you've made a choice not to eat red meat anymore. Yeah. Was that just from you looking at the data and looking at the science?
It's looking at the science and just the inflammatory aspects of red meat. Yeah. And, I do try and do my protein sources from eggs and fish and chicken, principally, tending towards fish as much as I can. And, I spend a lot of time in looking at all the exponential technologies. And one of the technologies coming is what's called cultivated or cultured meats, right? Where these are also called lab-grown meats or stem cell-grown meats, where you're not growing the entire cow or chicken or pig. You're basically taking stem cells from that animal and you're culturing them to grow a steak or a fillet. And it's a future, honestly, which can be... if you have ethical issues with animals, you're not even killing the animal and getting the stem cells. All you're doing is you're using that cellular biology to create something that tastes good and delivers the proteins, amino acids, and so forth you need. And in the future, I think that our highest quality protein sources are going to be that these, stem cell grown fish will have no mercury in it, right?
I'm detoxing from metal right now.
Yeah, exactly, right? I love my sushi. Yeah. But I refuse to eat it for that one reason. But imagine protein sources, that taste better, are cheaper, and are more healthy for you. That's where we can go. We can re-engineer the kinds of foods that we eat. But we digress from the topic of longevity diet.
No, I think it's right on the money. And I think curious, like how close is that? Because I feel
it's here now.
Is it really?
Yeah. So there have been Singapore was the first country to approve this. It's been approved by the FDA right now. There are a number of companies that are creating stem cell grown beef and chicken and fish today. In fact, we have an XPRIZE called Feeding the Next Billion that Tony Robbins was a major co-funder of for demonstrating stem cell grown chicken and fish, and doing it in a way that is tastes better and is healthier and is lower cost than the alternatives. Because we can't feed a growing planet. We already use 1/3 of the non-ice landmass of the Earth. Like 1/3 of the Earth is used for the livestock that we eat. And then, I think it's like 40% of all of the grains we produce are used to feed. And you can't. What are you gonna just cut down more forests to go and do that?
It doesn't. I'm so happy to hear that. And, my best friend in the world is a vegan. So I, of course, have her always with me, you know what I mean? And on my shoulder. So yes. I love hearing this because I, personally would rather go for that fish and that meat any day of the week. So the other thing I just want to say about sugar, and I found this because, I've been doing a poking around. I actually do want to do the whole, I'm going to come to a center. I need to.
I love it.
Was just understanding and knowing from my genetics, like, oh, I have a certain combination that leans me towards the potential of Alzheimer's, right? I have a certain combination. I was talking to Hyman about it, and he's like, Marie, he's like, no mas, so the sugar shrinks your hippocampus, your memory center. And I was like, okay, and I want to say these things out loud because I feel like we all need to hear it.
I mean, every day we make choices.
Yeah.
And we are choosing our future health for short-term rewards. And, if you don't know you're doing that, that's one thing. But if you consciously understand it, now, in the not too distant future, I think it's probably a 5-year time horizon, we're all going to have some version of a Jarvis from Iron Man, right? That AI that's on you, with you. I'm wearing a continuous glucose monitor right now. You are too? Yeah. Great. Are you a Free Libre or a Dexcom?
Dexcom, levels.
So the levels, yeah, exactly. So, and levels is great. And at the end of the day, I can now know exactly what spikes my blood glucose or not. And we're going to have a whole slew of wearables, insidables, consumables, stuff in our chair, in our bed, measuring, and all of that's going to be fed up to an AI that is monitoring you 24/7. And you can turn on, nanny mode or nuisance mode or whatever, and have it say, don't eat that, drink a glass of water first before you consume that donut.
Can I tell you, when I was walking here, I was thinking about this. I'm like, I need to talk to Peter about this. I've had this little vision and dream in my life, and maybe somebody's already creating it, maybe somebody that that maybe it's coming in the future, where looking around, like it was a set of contacts, where as I look, and let's say that I had a drink here, and what would come up on it is like either danger, don't do it. Do you know what I mean? And tell me exactly.
Heads up.
Heads up. Here's the carb count. Here's the protein. This is great for you. This is not so great for you. Not just generic information, but based on personalized, data.
And so it is coming. And these are the next generation of augmented reality goggles, right? So the ability for AI to do image recognition of everything is here right now in perfect clarity. It will tell me, take a picture. It will tell me everything, and it can look it up and tell me where things are, what the price is, describe what it is. And so if you want, you'll be wearing a pair of augmented reality goggles with cameras, and as you go and reach for a glass of orange juice, it'll go, Peter, that is pure sugar that's going to spike, right? Or you're walking in the mall and there's escalators and it's stairs. Take the stairs, you're going to earn 10 more points.
Yep.
And it's going to be a motivator there and a coach, and you can turn it on or turn it off, but at least you have knowledge of what's going on.
So here's a question. So for people listening to us now and they're going, oh no, but I love my food so much and I don't want to make huge changes, but I'm willing to make some. Have you ever given people advice, folks who are a little bit resistant around, like, don't take away all of my sugar or don't take away all of my wine? Like, what would you say to people listening to this who feel like they're going to put themselves in some highly restrictive place?
So what can I say? It is about trades. And there are things you can do. Like I said, just changing the order and how you eat your food is a big difference. I mean, it is one of the biggest differences you can make. The second thing is I used to love milk chocolate. Now I'm only eating dark chocolate above 75%, right? And I'll have small pieces, but I'll be intentional thinking in that regard. Ultimately, one of the big tricks is drinking a glass of water before you eat.
Yeah.
Right, just to give that. And the problem is we do mindless eating, and that mindless eating is a real detriment. So when I think about food, I mean, those are the big deals.
Yeah. I want to also talk about exercise because this is probably one of my favorite things ever. I've former Nike athlete, still a dancer. I personally, in my own life, feel as though exercise is a core fountain of youth kind of thing. So let's talk about muscle mass and the role it plays in healthspan and lifespan.
So I'll say this. If exercise could be bottled up and made a drug, it would be the single most important drug ever invented by humanity. The numbers are absolutely clear. If you're over 60 listening to this, the number one thing you can do is exercise. And it doesn't need to be even every day. If you exercise twice a week, you can reduce your chance of cancer by 3-fold and your all-cause mortality by 50%. 2 exercise sessions with good resistive exercise. Your muscles, when you stimulate your muscles in that fashion, it puts out a whole set of factors that go throughout the body. So I think about muscle mass as one of the most important things I can maintain and focus. So, one of the big challenges, remember I said the body was never designed to live past age 30.
Yeah, totally.
And if you look at all the muscle builders, all of the, Arnold Schwarzenegger and his prime and all of his compatriots, they're in their 20s, maybe at 30, because the ability to build muscle begins to reduce after that. It's a term called sarcopenia. And as you grow older and you begin losing muscle mass, a number of detriments happen. Number one, muscles are a large supply of stem cells in your body. Number two, a large amount of blood volume in your body. But number three, the biggest challenge as you're growing older with sarcopenia is that your ability to catch yourself from a fall. And what happens has happened to my dad. It's how he passed. He got up in the middle of the night. He had some beginnings of dementia. He tripped, he fell, and he broke his pelvis, right? You either break your hip or your pelvis, and you're up in the hospital. And then you're immobilized and in pain. And the next thing that happens is you develop pneumonia. And then the stats are ridiculous. The percentage of people that within a year of a broken hip or pelvis after age 65 who pass. And so the question becomes, how do you prevent that? And part of it is maintaining muscle mass.
Yeah.
And listen, I wish there were a pill. And I've invested in a number of companies that are developing technology for that pill. Muscle is something that, unfortunately, it's use it or lose it.
Yep.
And so what I do is I will do heavy weights. I have 2 trainers that I'll, depending on where I am and what I'm doing. And I belong to 3 gyms, and I've got a catalyst suit and a tonal system. And there's no excuse not to be doing it. And part of the reason for the trainers is to pay for the guilt.
But wait, I want to call you out on something too. I read in here because I want people to know. You do something, you and I share a little DNA here. Correct me, but I think if you find yourself like in a meeting too long, you'll like do some squats.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All the time.
Yeah,
like I'm a maniac. I'm blow drying my hair. I'm doing calf raises.
Yeah, it's like it's like how I think about my time. So for example, I bought a stationary bike and I refuse to take another board meeting sitting on my butt. It's like, I'm on a few different boards and I'll typically have 2 or 3 board meetings a week. They're an hour and I'm sitting there listening to someone else talk. And it's like, there's no reason in the world to ever take a board meeting and not be exercising. And so I will either take them, I live in Santa Monica, so I'll take it on my phone walking along the Strand at the beach.
Yep.
I had a stationary desk, but I put that into storage and got my my stationary bike instead. And so taking your walking meetings, I mean, during COVID, right? Every meeting I took was a walking meeting.
Yep.
And so that is just feeling like an opportunity. I will never take the escalator when I can. Yeah. I can take the stairs.
Yeah. No, right. I was walking over here today and I was thinking about it. I was carrying all this stuff and it was a version of rucking because I had my computer, I had this, I had that, I had my makeup, and I'm like, this is heavy. I'm like, this is good.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
like a 30-minute walk.
It's a flip of their mindset.
It's a total flip. I'm like, I'm a sweaty mess, but I'll dry off by the time I get there. Okay, I want to talk about sleep too, because again, these are free things.
And let me just mention one other thing on the exercise, right? So muscle is important for a lot of reasons. And there are things you can do. One of the things is you have to take enough protein in.
Yes.
Right. So I've actually used to do a lot of intermittent fasting. I've actually, to get enough protein to maintain muscle mass, I've actually dropped that. And so I'll do a plant-based protein shake in the morning. There's a product I love that I use to give up coffee or minimize my coffee, which is Nutri 11, which is a protein-based chocolate, 0 sugar, 0 carbs. It's awesome. Anyway, long story short, I'm making sure I get enough protein and then creatine and then the right amino acids. And it just is maximizing my shot at maintaining muscle mass. And I set a goal of 10 additional pounds. I'm at 6. I'm pushing for the next 4 over the next few months. And then the other part is your zone 2 training.
Yep.
Right. So you want to maximize healthy mitochondria in your cells, your power plants. And there is a set of signals you can give to the cells of your body and your muscles to grow new mitochondria, your power plants. And it's called exercising in zone 2. For me, that's 110 beats per minute as a heart rate. If you're an amazing athlete like yourself, it may be 120, 130 beats per minute. It is the heart rate that is going to stimulate the use of going from fat to glucose and is going to cause the signal to the mitochondria to begin to kill the old ones and bring in the growth of new ones. So that's important. And I talk about your zone 2 training here. Sleep.
Yes, let's talk about sleep.
Oh my God.
I love sleep.
Yes, me too.
I love sleep.
Do you have trouble
so
going
much.
to sleep?
You know what? Not really. Like Josh, my partner, we've been together for about 21 years now almost. I feel so bad. It breaks my heart because he is the worst sleeper ever. And I'm just like, I'm like a rock. Like you put me down and I'm
you
just,
and I both.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's the
like,
best thing ever.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Like for me,
but there are some tricks.
There are tricks. So
Yeah.
one of mine, I need it cold. I need it cold.
You and I
in the
both.
room.
What do you set it to?
It's like anywhere between 65 and like 68 is as hot as I could possibly go.
I set my temperature control at 63.
Oof.
Yeah.
Chilly Willy.
Chilly.
And then no light, like absolutely
0
no
light.
light.
You know what I love
What?
is I use something called a manta mask, and I've tried like 10 sleep masks. You know, I travel with my sleep kit everywhere because I just value sleep so much, right? And so it's my manta mask, my Oura ring, and then I use a mandibular adjustment device. It's a set of it's a mouth guard, if you would, keeps me from grinding my teeth, but it juts my mandible forward, and so it keeps me from snoring, but also keeps my airway open, so I have no disruption there. And then my favorite slippers. I have to have my slippers with me.
I would have no idea that Peter Diamandis was like, I need my slippers. Everybody,
it
I need my slippers.
makes me feel like I'm home.
Yeah, no, that's very sweet.
So that's my sleep kit.
Let's talk about this because I actually found this interesting and I wanted to pill into it. The importance of a standard bedtime. So this surprised me. You said 8 hours of sleep between 10 and 6 is not the same as 8 hours of sleep between 12 and 8.
Yes.
I was like, dude, is that true? And I'm curious how
super true.
Okay, so how does this square with the idea of like chronotypes and morning people and natural?
Well, listen, when I say that, I mean, if your normal bedtime is midnight to 8, then those 8 hours are not the same as 2 a.m. to 10 p.m. Most individuals have a normal wake time. So my eyes pop open, typically Pacific time, between 5:30 and 6:15. And so if I went 8 hours of sleep, I'm backing up from that. So I'm in bed by 9:30. And, you know, if my normal bedtime is 9:30 and then I'm going to sleep at midnight and I still get 8 hours of sleep, it's just not the same as my normal.
Right.
So your chronotype is in fact real. And I'm just saying you should obey that.
Right. Okay, good. That's what I wanted to clarify.
And so, you know, most individuals can impact their sleep time versus their wake time. I mean, so in other words, if you're normally waking up at a particular time, then you need to be going to sleep to make sure that you've got 8 hours during that window.
So you're backing it in. Yeah.
I'm backing out that number.
Totally.
It's interesting, right? Because kids, interesting fact, children, as my 12-year-olds right now, they used to go to sleep at 7:30, and now as they're becoming older, they're going to sleep at 9:30 or 10 or 10:30 or 11. And I'm like, I'm zonked. I'm like, it's past my bedtime. I need to get to sleep. And so I was reading about this, and it says as you get into teenage years, the kids' sleep cycles actually move later and later and later. And part of that is evolutionary because kids want to have separation from their parents to go out and find their mates and reproduce. Please not in teenage years now, but so when schools are getting started consistently at 8 or 9 and kids are getting to sleep later and later, it's a disservice for them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like I've read some great articles about that too.
Yeah.
Let's talk medications and supplements and all that jazz. So first, and because I have a lot to ask you on this topic, what medicines work, what don't work, anything that you can update us. And I know this is highly individualized.
Yeah, it is highly individualized. And, I have a whole long disclosure.
Very long disclosure. Smart one.
In this, because I'm a medical doctor by training, not by practice. And, listen, it really depends on the individual, and it depends. So I take on the order of, I think it's around 62 or 63 pills a day.
Are you shitting me?
No.
Oh my God.
No.
How has that been for a while? Because
it has been. Okay. And is it just expensive pee?
Do you ask yourself that?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now I'm measuring my blood biomarkers all the time.
Sure.
And God bless, I can afford that. And I am reading the literature and looking at what is it that science is telling us works. At the end of the day, you need to be thinking about, I'm taking this particular supplement or medication for this specific reason, right? So I know that I've got a tendency towards hypercholesterolemia from my parents. And I am constantly watching that, but I don't want to get my LDL levels, my low density protein levels too low. But I used to be, I'm taking berberine now as one means to reduce blood sugar. And that's, I think, a very easy way to do it. In addition to minimizing my sugar intake, I'm using a monoclonal antibody called Repatha, which is a injection I take every 2 weeks. That blocks the PCSK9 enzyme in my liver and reduces my LDL. I prefer that much better than statins, but it's expensive. And so I'm getting my cholesterol level, making sure that my blood glucose levels, making sure my HbA1c is in line. All of those things are important. In terms of a longevity med, if we're going to call it that, there's only a few things that I'm taking. So I am taking Rapamycin right now. So Rapamycin is a drug that was discovered in Easter Island in Rapa Nui, and it appears to slow aging. It is not regulated or approved as an aging drug. There are no real drugs approved in that. It is approved as a drug for people who need to go in immunosuppression if they've received a transplant. And in high doses, it suppresses your immune system. In smaller doses, like what I and Mark Hyman and others do, I think it's like 6 milligrams once per week, on for 3 months and off for 3 months and so forth. It appears to impact how we process proteins and how we process our energy systems in our body. So I write about that. There are a series of peptides I take. I do supplement testosterone, not too much, just some. And then, I have in the book, and I'll leave it in the PDF. I won't go through all of these here because there are, like I said, 60 of them. And taurine is one that's gotten a lot of press recently for mitochondrial health. And so it's important for you to look at these and look at the data to decide whether you want to take this on for yourself. I'll tell you one thing I'm working on right now inside of Fountain Life because I want it desperately. For you, for me, for everyone listening, there is an ideal set of meds and supplements. Guarantee you there's an absolute ideal set of meds and supplements, and it looks like this. Based on your genetics, based upon your outcome goals, what do you want? I want more muscle, I want more longevity, I want more mental clarity, I want less weight. What are your top 3 outcomes you want? So your genetics, your top 3 outcomes, all the other data we take in from you. And then another parameter, how many pills are you willing to take per day? Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 55. Based upon all of that, and based upon published science, what are the right sets of meds and supplements for you? That's the AI engine I'm working on building, right? Because I'll then be able to say, well, here's my new upload from Fountain.
Yep.
Or, I'm done taking 50, 65 pills a day. I only want to take 40. Which ones should I drop?
Yep.
Because right now you go to a doctor, everyone's going to give you a different answer.
100%. And I've gotten supplement exhaustion sometimes where I want to take my friggin' box and throw it against the wall. Cause I'm like, this is a whole other job. I got lots of jobs. I don't, what I mean? I don't need 5 or 6.
I've got a spreadsheet that I get from Fountain Life.
Yeah.
And every time I do a quarterly, so we do our 1-year upload and we do quarterly blood testing, and based upon I will fine tune, or I read about something and I'll reduce this one and increase this one. And then I've got an assistant who, generates my pill packs.
Yeah.
And it is exhausting. I've gotten really good at taking pills.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like, I don't want to poo-poo it all the time. I think it depends on what else is going on in my life, but I've been pretty good. And then Josh and I were talking about this last night. We were walking around and he's like, hey, did you hear about, peptides and how the FDA is
cracking down on them.
Cracking down on them. And it just made me think, again, in the context of what, this is just my opinion, my perspective, but me trying to navigate the standard healthcare system, I want to smash my head through. It's a show and a half.
It is. It sucks.
It sucks ass.
Yeah.
And so for me, then, understanding, and maybe you can just give for anyone who's not familiar with peptides, what they are, how we can use them. It just felt like over the past few years that I was like, oh, wow, there's these awesome, cool things that can really support us in our health and our well-being.
And now the FDA is cracking down on them.
Let's just put everybody into big pharma and keep them sick and then make them get broke and then die.
So the building blocks of our bodies are proteins, which are made up of amino acids, and there are some 23 or so essential amino acids out there. A peptide is a signaling molecule, and it's a short chain amino acid. Like one of the products I love is called OneSkin. I don't know if you've heard of it. Do you know it?
I have, but I don't use it.
So, and it's got I think a peptide that's 10 or 20 amino acids long that focuses on senescent cells, those zombie cells in your skin, and it is able to identify and help kill these zombie cells. And then there are peptides that stimulate your natural growth hormone production, and peptides that are supportive of increasing muscle mass. And some of these peptides, a lot of them are injectables. Which is a pain in the ass, but you get pretty good at it if that's something you're into. Or some of them are nasal sprays and some of them are pills. But these are signaling molecules that it's a language your body uses to communicate what to do, what to put out, what to reduce. And it's using those signaling molecules to signal your body and to get the outcomes you want. And I've got a whole section in here on the peptides, BPC 157 and Cimax and CJC 1295.
We need to get them now before we can't get them anymore.
Well, And so one of the things I'm trying to do with Fountain is wrap the science around this. So one of the areas, if you get frustrated by peptides, I'll tell you what frustrates me even more is regulations around stem cells.
Yes.
And exosomes. So
if you can get them, they're incredibly expensive. Like I've
they're
spent
expensive,
a lot of money
and
on
you
those.
typically have to travel outside the U.S. for them.
Yep.
So our body began as a single cell, right? And you're now somewhere between 30 to 40 trillion cells, and all these different cell types. So that pluripotent stem cell at the beginning differentiated, grew into millions, and then billions, and then trillions. Sound like Carl Sagan, and then differentiated into skin and muscle and liver and brain and so forth. And in each of your tissues, there are resident stem cells, and these stem cells have the ability to make more muscle or more fat or more skin. And they're your repair system, your body. And when you're born, you have a huge amount of stem cells as a percentage basis of your cells in your body because you're growing. And then over time, your stem cell population diminishes substantially. And so to the point where at the end of life, you don't have the repair systems, the ability to go in and generate the new tissues. And so the concept came along of, can we supplement your stem cell population? And the answer is we can. And stem cells, when they're used either intravenously or when they're used injected into a joint, can be stimulated to differentiate and form cartilage or form muscle or form cardiac or form whatever the cell might be, and provide growth and repair. They put out growth factors, and they can take stationary residence and repair. And in the U.S., these are principally illegal. You can extract your own stem cells, and we do this either from your bone marrow or from your fat, and you can concentrate them and give them back to yourself, which has utility, and people do it. A lot of times, if you take fat and you use it in a facelift, for example, what happens is the thought is that part of the benefits of the facelift is the stem cells in the resident in the fat, which has like the highest percentage of stem cells, unfortunately, for replicating itself. And it's also the youngest of the stem cells, that it has a positive factor in the structure around the face or whatever they're using it for. The other place you can get stem cells is from the placenta or the umbilical cord. Mm-hmm. And so right now, we at Fountain Life have had relationships with a number of stem cell centers outside the U.S. Where you can go and get these cells either into a joint or into an arm or into a joint or intravenously. But you've got to travel, Mexico, Panama. The center we send people mostly now to is in Costa Rica at the Regenerative Medical Institute, RMI. We're working right now in partnership with one of my other companies, Cellularity, which is the largest procurer of placentas. So when someone has a baby, you've heard about saving the baby's umbilical cord blood. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great, but that's less than half the answer. What we've realized is that if you can save the baby's afterbirth, the placenta is a 3D printer that manufactures the baby. It is very rich in stem cells, natural killer cells, and T cells. And so what Cellularity's done is it's built one of the largest supplies of natural killer cells and stem cells out there. And we are filed for an IND with the FDA, which is an investigational new drug, to be able to deliver those stem cells for sarcopenia at our Orlando Fountain Center, right? So the goal is you've got to have a full upload. We need to know there's no cancer going on inside you, right? There's nothing negative, and then giving you those stem cells, and then being able to repeat and wrap science around this. And you're really, as a member, you're also a subject in a research protocol.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I want to just congratulate you and thank you for including a chapter. Like, thanks for including a chapter in the end
On women's health.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it's not
It's
the
not the
same.
same.
It's really not the same. So tell us, where did that idea come from? Was it your director?
So, it was out of a conversation with Julie Van Emmerongen, who's my executive director of Abundance 360, which is my CEO summit I run every year. And as soon as she mentioned it, I was like, oh my God, you're 100% correct. And so I wish it was my answer on my own, but she deserves the credit. And people need to know that women have done a disservice for many decades. Most people don't know this, but almost all drugs developed over the last, since the FDA was around, were only tested on men.
Yeah, that's why that study that you quoted, where the number of women in the study was in the over 10,000.
It was amazingly.
Yes, I was like, oh, that's new.
Yeah, it was. And so because menses and menopause interfered, made it difficult to do the research, it was like, I'm doing it in men. It should work for women too. And it's such bullshit.
It's total bullshit.
Right?
Yes.
And then what's interesting, there is a payback, which is most of the drugs taken off the market afterwards were taken off the market because of the negative effects on women. Mm. And so that's unfortunate. And so women have a whole different set of requirements and needs from exercise and from diet. I have an incredible chief medical officer and chief scientific officer, Dr. Helen Messier, probably the most brilliant physician I know, functional medicine doctor. She oversees all the medical training and everything inside of Fountain Life. MD, PhD in molecular immunology. She's brilliant. And I've done a couple of podcasts going through all of these detailed systems with her. But I think women need to realize that they've been done a disservice, and that
we know that one for sure.
Well, beyond the normal stuff.
Yeah.
It's time to stand up for what's right.
So thank you for including that, because her chapter in the end is fantastic, and I love how nuanced she is, and she's someone that I want to get to know better. But
I'm happy to make the introduction.
Yeah, I appreciate you including
interesting
that.
fact, right? Do you know that humans are one of only 5 species on the planet that have menopause?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's the narwhal, 3 species of whales, and humans are the only species on the planet to have menopause. Yeah,
and I mean, you probably know this, but there's a lot of articles. There's actually very wonderful companies being started right now because it's, women, perimenopause, menopause. It's like, it's just been completely invisible and overlooked. And so many women that are in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s are like dropping out of the workforce. It's a nightmare. So
also the fact that it's just not fair to have to choose between family and profession.
Your family or profession, or your mental health,
or
and
your
well-being, your ability to get up every day and to live your purpose and to actually feel good doing it, and that you're not crazy for having some really radical changes go on. You're like, who the hell? What? So anyway, so I'm hopeful. I
want to talk about this XPRIZE we just launched.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So probably something I've been working on for 15 years, diligently for the last 5 years. And it's super meaningful. We just launched the largest prize ever in human history. It's a $101 million incentive prize, challenging teams around the world to effectively reverse the ravages of aging by 20 years in muscle, immune, and cognition. So as we get older, and we talked about this a little bit, you begin to lose your cognitive abilities, and that scares people the most. You begin to lose muscle strength, sarcopenia, and that can cause a very rapid decline, a fall that can end your life. And then your immunoexhaustion, your immune system. And again, your immune system is important to protect you against COVID, against the flu, against cancer. So we have announced an XPRIZE. It's 101 million. And teams need to demonstrate with a therapeutic that lasts 1 year or less. So you have to get a population of male and female balanced subjects. It's funny, the team running this Healthspan XPRIZE are 6 women. So it's all young women. And the guys who were coming up with the rules, all old white guys. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Like this juxtapositioning was like...
it's great. No, coming together. This is exciting.
And so we ended up announcing this. I raised $141 million total, 101 for the purse, 10 million for an additional bonus prize, and 30 million to run it. A guy named Chip Wilson, you know his name?
Yes.
The founder of Lululemon.
Yes.
Put up the first 25 million. And when he found out I'd gotten Elon to fund a $100 million carbon prize a few years earlier, he goes, "We need to make it larger than Elon's prize." So he said, "How about 101?" I said, "Okay, you put an extra one?" He said, "Sure."
This is the best use of ego and competition, like ever.
Yeah,
ever.
Exactly. Instead of a larger yacht, a larger XPRIZE.
That's right.
So we have announced it on the stage in Riyadh, in Saudi. It's funded from a foundation called Hevolution, which is in Saudi in the United States, by Chip Wilson. I'm a large benefactor for the prize and a group of individuals. And it's going to run for 7 years. And we expect to have hundreds, if not thousands, of teams competing for this. And folks interested can go to xprize.org. And you'll learn about the competition. Super proud of it. Really trying to stimulate anyone anywhere on the world can enter the competition. Company, academics, labs. But in success, we're going to have a whole new set of therapies. And teams have to do this in a population against gender balanced population age 65 to 80.
I love it.
Right. So
yes.
I want to give hope to people who are aging that there's a whole new set of incredible breakthroughs coming our way. Yeah.
Thank you. And this tees us up for where I wanted to go.
Please.
Where we tease people about was the power of mindset and the will to live. And I think, when I was preparing for this and looking at everything on your site, what inspired me so much was really who you are. And we've known each other for so long, but I just got wonderfully re-inspired
Thank you.
by who you are as a human being and your vision and your desire to truly help make the world a better place. And it warmed my heart that, you were inspired when you were a kid watching shows like Star Trek. And some of your mentors were characters that were science fiction based.
For sure. I got turned on to life, inspired and got a purpose when I was, 9 years old, watching the Apollo moon landings. And then I like to say that scientific documentary called Star Trek, right? And I wish that for everybody. I wish a heartfelt, deep, meaningful purpose. There's a great quote from Mark Twain who says, there are 2 important days in your life, the day that you were born and the day that you find out why, right? And that's so true.
Yes.
I am teaching more and more right now about mindset. One of the ways I frame it is I say, if you think about the greatest leaders on the planet, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, whomever you want, what makes them a great leader? Is it the money they had? Is it the tech they had? Is it the friends they had? Or was it their mindset? Right? And I think most people would say it's their mindset. And so then the next question is, okay, if their mindset's the most important thing for being a great leader, whether you're a parent or teacher, a president of a nation, then what mindset do you have? Where'd you get it from? And what mindset do you need for the decade ahead? And so I became enamored with that idea of mindset and started focusing in on teaching a few. For me, it's about a purpose-driven mindset, a curiosity mindset, a abundant mindset, an exponential mindset, a moonshot mindset, a longevity mindset, and a gratitude mindset. And those are the mindsets I think about. There are lots of mindsets you can do, but like, what do you think about and shape every day and focus on? And we talked about this idea of a massive transformative purpose, or an MTP, for those of you who've been waiting along since the beginning to hear what MTP stands for. And I think everybody can and should have a massive transformative purpose. And that can be as big or as small as you want, but it's what wakes you up in the morning, what keeps you going at night. And an MTP is tied to an emotional engine. We are emotional beings. We truly are. As much as people may not want to be, we're driven. Emotion is our energy. And so an MTP is either driven by this amazing positive emotion, like of awe and inspiration and desire to go and, go to the moon or the stars, or it could be a negative emotion, like I refuse to let this happen to anybody else ever again, right? I'm going to solve this. But it's that energy, in this world where we've got so much opportunity coming our way, right? I mean, you and I probably get hundreds of opportunities coming our way from different people and different introductions. And like, what do you do and not do? That filter for what you do and not do should be set by your MTP. Like, it's helping you to understand, like, this is my highest purpose in life. And so does this align with that? And
what's your MPT?
One of the things that's important to realize is your MTP doesn't have to last your entire life. And so I'm really on my third and into my fourth. So my first MTP was, in fact, opening up the space frontier. And I started a number of companies and organizations around that. The largest college space organization, met Jeff Bezos through that, called SEDS, and then started a space university, and then started a zero-G company, weightless flight company. A company took people to the space station with the Russians, and then XPRIZE started on that. The next MTP after that was focused around how do I help focus people to solve the world's biggest problems. And that was the XPRIZE Foundation and Singular. I became enamored with the idea that there is no problem we cannot solve, right? Very much in line with, figure outable. There is no problem we cannot solve.
Right.
And it's that mindset of like, nope, refuse to let that. I'm going to solve this. I'm going to slay this. I'm not going to give up. Other people are going to retire or die before I give up. Right. That's me in my heart. It's that declaration of, and so that MTP around solving the world's grand challenges led to the birth of both Singularity University and the XPRIZE. My MTP that I've held for quite some time now is to inspire and guide entrepreneurs to create a hopeful, compelling, and abundant future. So one of the things I think about MTP is I want it to be an action verb. So for me, I love inspiring and guiding people. It's like when I'm on stage and I'm in flow and I get people to say, oh my God, that's meaningful to me. You've inspired me. Or with an XPRIZE, like that's the target. I don't care who you are, what you went to school, solve that, you win, go for it. And then who do I care about? I care to a large degree about entrepreneurs who are solving problems, right? You and I share that. And then what do I want them to do? I want a world for my kids that's hopeful and compelling and abundant, right? People need to have a hopeful life and a compelling life. And abundance is about an equitable uplifting of humanity. And so that really is when I decide, do I do something or don't I? That is a filter for me. And my MTP that I'm co-developing now is really around this adding of 20, 30 healthy years in a person's life. That will buy me the additional time to get myself, I'm going to go start a city on the moon or something like that. But anyway, so those are what I think about.
Yeah, it was really inspiring for me to read that, and it just gave me so much hope in my heart.
Thank you.
As we're wrapping up, is there anything else that you want people to really hear or take away from this combo?
I think from this conversation, I want people to have hope for your health and your health span. There's a concept I talk about both in Peter's longevity practices, which is the PDF folks can get, or my book Longevity, which is longevity escape velocity. I don't know if you remember that. So Today, for every year that you're alive, science is extending your life for about a quarter of the year, a quarter of an additional year. And we're seeing such incredible breakthroughs, such incredible amount of capital and minds coming at this, that it's accelerating these breakthroughs. And so there's a concept that Aubrey de Grey and Ray Kurzweil talks about called longevity escape velocity, that there's going to be a time where for every year that you're alive, science is extending your life for greater than a year. And that's called longevity escape velocity. And so the question is, when is that likely to happen? Ray Kurzweil predicts it's within 10 years, which is amazing, right? George Church, one of the most brilliant scientists at Harvard Medical School, thinks it's within 15 years. And so what I like to say is, it's not 50 years away or 100 years away. It's within your grasp. And what that means, going back to that phrase on the cover here, is not dying from something stupid in the interim. It's like
don't die from something stupid.
Keep yourself in the best health you can. Care about it. Love yourself enough, and prepare yourself for an amazing world ahead. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And you can do things within. You can do things on the high end, like Fountain Life, or just change the order at which you eat your food, get exercise, sleep. Those things don't cost you anything. It costs you some willpower, but if you truly love life, you'll do it.
Peter, where can everyone get this fantastic piece of magic for free?
Yeah, so if you go to diamandis.com/longevity, you can download the PDF for free. I put out a blog every week on longevity and on these exponential technologies. And please, spread it, share it, let people know about it. It's important for people to realize that you do have control over these things in your life.
Peter, thank you so much for taking the time today. Thank you for being who you are, and thank you for being a friend.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, Peter and I would love to hear from you. What is the single most important idea that you are taking away from this conversation? And most importantly, how are you going to put that into action starting right now? Leave a comment below and let us know. And if you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button. It'll make sure that you never miss a thing. Until next time, stay on your game and keep going for your big dreams, because the world really does need that very special gift that only you have. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.